We have a cover story in CardioSource World News Interventions that's taking a look at radiation safety, especially in the cath lab. And so that's why I really wanted to talk to our next guest. In the April 2014 issue of JACC Interventions, there's a paper on the efficacy of a mini course in radiation-reducing techniques in invasive cardiology, and it is a multi-center field study. I am with the first author of that paper, Dr. Eberhard Kuon, and we're at the Klinik Fraenkische Schweiz in Eberhard, Bayern, Germany. Now, the question that I have for you, first off, is why did you do the study?
I'm working since 20 years in invasive cardiology, and I saw that the radiation dose in invasive cardiology is currently too high, and it did not decrease since the last decades. And so I decided that it must be possible to reduce this dose. And 15 years ago, Rita Watson, for example, she wrote in an editorial that clueless in the cath lab, interventional cardiologists, they drive their catheterization machines like drivers who push on the pedal and don't know how they function really. And that was also my opinion, and I saw I had to reduce factor by factor by factor. And this is an element of quality management that you have to iteratively to improve yourself.
It's a 90-minute kind of mini course, right?
It's a 90-minute mini course, and all existing concepts to reduce radiation dose, they lack a documentation of very important substantial parameters of radiation parameters. Like they also always measure only the dose area product or the fluoroscopy time, but what we need to survey ourselves, we need parameters for collimation, like radiographic dose area product per second or fluoroscopic dose area product per second, and we need the number of radiographic frames and all that to see the individual attempts of each cardiologist towards radiation reducing techniques. And so I thought we have to go into the cardiac centers and to coach them there. And we measured all these parameters, radiation, DAP, during radiography, during fluoroscopy, the frames, the fluoroscopy time. And there we calculated these additional parameters for collimation, for frame rate, for pulse rate. This is a parameter also for the entrance dose, and for another parameter, the less irradiation angulations, which we published 10 years ago in JACC.
Now, in this case, you were able to significantly reduce, this 90-minute course, significantly reduce the amount of radiation, correct?
Yes, we reduced the radiation in all these 32 centers for 154 operators by 48%. And we could show that the operators, they reduced the intensity parameters by 40%. They reduced the radiation, the radiographic frames by 30%. And they learned that the radiation intensity during radiography is 30-fold higher than during fluoroscopy.
Wow.
And the dogma that that cardiologist is the best who has the shortest fluoroscopy times, that's not true. That cannot be true because the fluoroscopic fraction of the overall dose area product is only 20%. And so the correlation between fluoroscopy time and overall dose is very, very poor.
What I thought was interesting about your paper was that even though you significantly reduced by almost half that radiation. There was still a wide discrepancy from center to center,
Yes.
from person to person. It's like,
Yes.
wow.
For one coronary angiography, between the operators, there is the 20-fold difference, and between the centers, there is a 6-fold difference. And it was impressive, the strikingly uniform way of working between the centers. The centers with the highest dose area product, all the operators, they had the same way to work, and they teach themselves and they coach themselves, and
So they stay
did
the
not
same
look
over time. There's no
Yes.
improvement.
Presenting these centers the results of others centers of excellence, which worked with the same machine,
Right.
was really motivating these colleagues to improve their work.
So over a period of time, we may see some improvement if they see their data compared to everybody else and maybe think, maybe we can do this better.
I hope that. And another strikingly result was that the newer machines, the advanced modern technology with flat panel detectors, they generated 30% more dose area product.
Wow.
And we didn't expect that because the flat panel detector technology should lower the radiation dose. And the only explanation was what we could see in a multi-level analysis, that the dose intensity during radiography was higher compared to the former machines. And this means probably that the operators themselves want to see every strut of their stents very sharp and with high contour, or that the manufacturers and the companies, they can better sell the new machines with better image quality than lower dose with comparable image qualities. We cannot differentiate that from our data.
But that's an interesting observation.
That's because it's so important. 1 year ago, we could show in our own center, comparing the new machine with the former machine, that the potential of the new technology is 70% to reduce dose. Because the new machines, they have the devices to adapt the radiographic frames according the heart rate of the patient, and to adapt the fluoroscopy pulse rate according the interventional challenge of the PCI. For example, if you go to before a stenosis with your coronary guide wire, you don't need a pulse. You need only a pulsing of 4 per second. But to go through, probably you have to use your touch screen and go up to 10 pulses per second. And you have to rise up, probably if it's a hazy stenosis, you have to increase the image intensifier entrance dose a bit. And if you have passed the stenosis, you can lower all parameters. You need such an interface at your table to always change your parameters doing your intervention. And then the new machines have a potential to reduce the dose area, overall dose area product towards 10% of levels all over the world in great registries.
Well, this is a great paper, and it's in JACC Interventions. It's in April, so please make sure you check out that. And also the cover story in CardioSource World News, if that's okay with you. The Interventions issue has an entire cover story on radiation safety in the cath lab. For CardioSource World News, I'm Executive Editor Rick McGuire.